Hello and welcome to the Oscar edition of 30 Minute Reviews. I am Adam. So, the Oscars were last night, and I think I've said this before. I don't think 2022 was a particularly strong year for movies, in the same way that, 2021, I think, was a much better year. But I don't think 2022 was particularly that strong. That said, we had the Academy Awards last night, and 12 movies won in 2021. Only 9 won last night, excluding the shorts categories. But let's quickly go through the shorts categories. I'm not super thrilled about the shorts categories because I went against my better judgment again. And yeah, so the shorts categories. So, best live action short went to An Irish Goodbye. I thought it was going to be The Red Suitcase. Best animated short went to The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, which I thought was going to be The Ice Merchants. And the documentary short category, I didn't see any of them, but The Elephant Whisperers ended up taking that home. I picked blindly. How do you measure a year? The one I'm annoyed about is the animated short, because last year a similar thing happened, just in the other direction. Um, Last year, I saw the animated shorts and I left and I was like, Robin Robin is probably going to win. Robin Robin is the one that has the money behind it. It is a Netflix production. I think that one's most likely to win, and it's a solid movie. It's a solid short. I had no problem with it. The issue became um, comparing it to what's it called? Comparing it to the other the other nominees for the category. I didn't think it was necessarily the best. I thought it was not a weaker movie per se, but definitely not as strong as The Windshield Wiper, which was hands down the best movie to get, in that category. The problem is I picked Robin Robin based on that. And then this year I was like, okay, we're not going to do that again. We're going to be smart about it this year. So when you look at it that way, you are kind of like, okay, so that makes sense. Then Windshield Wiper won, and I was like, fuck, I should have put that in the beginning. So then this year, the same thing happens. I'm like, the Ice Merchants is the best of these. So I'm gonna pick the Ice Merchants. I did not like the boy, the mole, the fox, and the dog and the horse at all. So I was like, let me just not pick that, and we'll move on from there, and we'll just pick, we'll do it this way. And then I was wrong. I should have gone with the other one, but whatever. It is what it is. Um, so let's see. We're gonna go through the rest of them in terms of number of awards won. That way we can go through this a little bit quicker than one would expect. Okay, now where were we? I think we were on Navalny, which took home Best Documentary Feature. Now, if you're familiar with the nominees for Best Documentary Feature, you probably know that they were all available on, mostly available on HBO Max, or at least some were available on HBO Max. I realize that I sound like I'm just making shit up as I go along, but on HBO Max you could have watched Navalny, all the Beauty and the Bloodshed, and there was another one that was also on there. Um, I forgot what it was. All That Breathes. But Navalny ended up taking that one home for Best Documentary Feature. The biggest surprise in that, I think, was Women Talking taking home Best Adapted Screenplay. Not that Women Talking is a bad movie. I saw it a few months back. Um, it's just, it's the kind of thing where I was like, this is going to end up not taking home anything because it. It's just one of those things where it's like it's good, but it's not amazing. And for it to take home Best Adapted Screenplay, which I thought for sure was going to Top Gun Maverick or Glass Onion, was kind of miraculous. Um, in terms of Best Visual Effects, I don't think it's a shock, but Avatar: The Way of Water took home Best Visual Effects um, with um, with its display in that movie, which is really the only reason worth watching that movie, if we're going to be honest. Um, and if you want to see that movie, I don't think it's still playing in 3D, but you can probably find it at a theater. So it's going to be available to watch. Also, with one win is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, in a very strong year for Best Animated Feature, with two nominees coming from stop motion, and I think Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is the better of the two. Um, with two wins, Black Panther Wakanda Forever continues Black Panther's trend from Marvel of taking home Academy Awards. I think it's the only time in the history of superhero movies where you have a movie and its sequel both win Academy Awards. But Black Panther: Wakanda Forever took home Best Costuming, which is one of those things where, like, when I watched it, I was like, I'm not entirely sure about this because when I think costuming in a superhero movie, my first thought is what's it called? Like looking at like the Midnight Angel costume, which I did not care for, or the Ironheart suit, which I also did not care for. Um, but then when you look at like what else is going on with Telecan and all of that, I think it did kind of do well. And then came "Lift Me Up" from Rihanna, which won Best Original Song for a Motion Picture. Beating out, I thought "Not To Not To" was gonna win, and based on it's like you remember that scene in Knives Out where everyone's going up to what's her name, going up to Anna de Armas' character, and it's like, oh no, I wanted you to come to the funeral, but I was outvoted, and everyone says that to her. It's like, so if everyone voted yes, then who did? It's like that kind of thing, where it's like the loudest ovation of the night was for Not To Not To when they would have performed that on stage, and it's like, well, you all love that movie so much, but apparently no one voted for it to get it to get it here. Also, I forgot, one with one win was Best Sound for Top Gun Maverick. I'm not thrilled about Best Sound as a category because, again, it used to be Best Sound Mixing and Best Sound Editing, and then they merged it into one category. Those are two very different skill sets. I thought before. I'm not going to get into it again, but Top Gun Maverick definitely deserved that one. Now back to two wins. We have The Whale with two, and that's our last two-win movie. The Whale took home Best Makeup and Hairstyling, and also took home Best Actor in a Leading Role for Brendan Fraser, which is well deserved. I think he really deserved that. And I thought it was a toss-up between The Whale and Elvis in terms of makeup and hairstyling. But I think the Whale pulls it out, and I think the Whale did a better job because of the amount of prosthesis and all of that that had to go into making Brendan Fraser look 600 pounds. Now we're getting into the big surprise of the evening, which was All Quiet on the Western Front took home 4 awards. I did not think that was going to happen. I was very surprised that it took home as many as it did. It took home Best Original Score, which I think is Black Panther's biggest snub. I think it should have gotten nominated for Best Original Score, but it didn't. Um, I think that was the biggest snub for Black Panther, but it did end up going to All Quiet on the Western Front. Also, for All Quiet on the Western Front, we had Best Cinematography, Best Production Design, and Best International Feature. I think the Best International Feature was again a foregone conclusion because, as usual, when a movie does win, you get nominated for Best Picture and also for Best International Feature, it tends to win Best International Feature. Look last year at Drive My Car, look at Parasite, look at, what was that one, the Italian movie years ago. Like, it tends to happen. If one gets nominated for Best Picture, it'll end up winning Best International Feature. And I think that for production design, they did a great job. I'm just surprised it beat out Avatar for production design. And then we get to the big winner of the evening, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which went in and won Best Film Editing, Best Original Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor for Ke Huy Quan, Best Lead Actress for Michelle Yeoh, Best Director for the Daniels, who directed it, and Best Picture, as well as Best Supporting Actress for Jamie Lee Curtis. And that was the only one that I was kind of baffled by. I thought for certain going in this was going to be Angela Bassett's year, but that didn't happen. I also thought that it wouldn't be either her or Stephanie Sue, because usually when you get two nominees in the same category for the same movie, they split the vote and neither wins. And that was not the case here. And I think if either of them did a better job between them, I think it's what's it called? I think it's definitely would go to Stephanie Sue, who carries the movie on her back. And you kind of forget. Like, I forgot that Jamie Lee Curtis was in the movie up until she showed up, and I was like, oh, I love that movie, but I forgot Jamie Lee Curtis was even in it. And I was surprised she won that. There was a little bit of like backhanded complimenting toward her, where it's like when they announced it, it's like she got her debut in Halloween, and then last year she was executive producer on Halloween Ends, and I'm like, that's not a good movie, so why would you bring that up? So yeah, so it is. The Oscars are over, and we'll be back with tomorrow. We have our 300th episode. So until then, have a great rest of your week.